how to install a main water shutoff valve. Let's get started. Alright, so the first step in our massive water renovation project here at This Olde Theater is installing a main water valve shutoff. Now, every water system needs to have one of these because while you can turn stuff off at the meter, sometimes the meter is hard to get to or yours may require a special tool. Some municipalities are like this. Our meter we're able to turn off just with a wrench, which is what we do for this project. However, every building needs to have an internal shutoff, and you need to know where that shutoff is. In our building, we have a main shutoff already, but it's in a really weird position. The piping on this building was done in whatever way was easiest at the time, easiest and cheapest, either when it was renovated or when that water was last worked on, which was probably between 30 and 50 years ago. A lot of it is not done well, and that's one of the main reasons that we're redoing it all throughout this project. So our water shutoff is accessible, but the pipes go around a really weird position, and it's a really old brass fitting. I don't know if sometimes brass fittings, metal fittings and stuff like that, they'll get corroded if they've been a certain way for a long time and haven't been moved. So I mean, let's face it, most of the time you're not going to turn the water off, it's going to stay on. But you want your valve to be able to function, and sometimes these old metal fittings, they'll get so corroded and stuff, when you go down there, you got an emergency and you got to turn it off, it doesn't move, and something breaks, and now it's stuck on in the middle of an emergency. That's one reason that we like moving to the plastic ones, because plastic ones don't typically do that, at least in my experience. So what we're doing here, we're putting a main water shutoff valve closer to the wall of the building, because that's a better location rather than kind of out in the room where this one currently is. And we're also, while we're doing that, we're also going to add a T in so that we can install our new water system and have it running concurrently with our old water system. Because at This Olde Theater, we are an active theater building, and I'm one of the main directors here, and I'm also one of the main ones that does a lot of the construction work here, as you'll see. So I have to set up the system so that the old system will continue running 100% just like it has been for the past 40 years, while also allowing me to add water to the new system. And the purpose being so that, as I have time, I will replace each fixture. I'll have basically two sets of water running to every fixture in the building, and as I have time, I will switch over, say, this sink to the new system, switch over this toilet to the new system and stuff like that. And then I'll just, as I cut out the old system, I'll put caps on it, and I'll cut that plastic back, put caps on it and whatnot. Ultimately, I'll cut out all of the old pipes once all of our new PEX is working. But today's focus is on that main line. So first we're going to cut through that main line. Well, first you got to cut the water off. And to do this, you have to find your outside meter. For us here, it took a little bit of searching because we're actually on a group property with two other facilities. We actually rent this facility from the school board, so there's other school facilities here. So we had to figure out exactly where our water meter was. So once we did that, we opened up the panel, we turned the meter off, and then we went to a hose spigot right out here out our workshop, and we released the pressure in the system. That's very important to do so that you don't have a whole bunch of water going into your system. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit more later on. And in the case of what we did here, we actually had a valve that we were able to turn. That main valve that I mentioned, I actually turned that off. I was able to move it, thankfully. I turned that off before I depressurized the system. So that locked all of the water that was up in the building. It locked it there. So it ain't going to go anywhere. It's not going to come back down on us as we cut out that valve, because we're working in the basement, and of course most of your plumbing is going to be either in the basement or in your attic. In older buildings, probably in the basement, and water always follows gravity. It always goes to the lowest point. So if the whole system was energized and all we did was cut off the meter, so there's no new water coming in, there's a whole bunch of water in the building, if we cut that pipe in the basement, guess what? All that water that's in the building is going to be coming down right into our where we're working when we cut that. So since we did have a kind of a main cutoff already, I closed that, locked all that water up there, so there was only a small bit of water in the area that we were working. Then I went out to the meter, turned that off, and then I went to our workshop where I knew there was a hose kind of upline of where we were going to be working. I released that water, all that pressure, kept that hose open the whole time actually, so there was no pressure in it whatsoever. And then I cut into it, as you'll see in a moment here. So that's one of the best ways to do that. You always want to make sure that there is no pressure in that. Otherwise, you're going to have a bunch of water to deal with during the project, which is not fun. So once we cut into it, then we're going to install our main valve first and foremost. And then we're going to put a T in there again so that we can make a stub out for our new system and continue on to our old system. And what we're going to do is, so basically we're going to have, and I'll show the diagram on here, we're going to have our new main shut off, T, and then we're going to have a valve to the old system and a valve to the new system. That way, once everything is put together, all I have to do is cut off that valve to the old system, and I can chop right on the other side of that pipe and take out all of that plumbing. All of that stuff will be good and done. And if I needed to, I could install another something there, like if we needed to have an internal spigot in the basement, which I don't think that we would need to, but maybe for your circumstance you would. And maybe in the future we'll find a need for it, but it'll be there, the option will be there. So that's gonna be the focus today. It's gonna be a lot of work to do. It's probably gonna take us a little while. But I hope you enjoy it. Let's get into that now. All right, so here we are. This is what the water shutoff looks like. Main water. And we're gonna open that up. Usually you need like a plier or something like that to kind of get under it. Like that. That is what your main looks like. There's your meter. This right here is your shutoff valve. So get your pliers. You rotate it. Got some crud in the way here. Move that sensor out of the way. Sometimes there is a lot of dirt in them, especially if they have not been moved in a while. So here we go. There we go. Let's shut off. Now it's time to go inside and get to work. Not to mention all the stress that is on that pipe for whatever reason. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to attach a T in there to the main line. Is going to be our primary shutoff. And then from that point, we're going to put the valve in there to be our primary shutoff for the building. Then we're going to put a T in there, short ways away from it, and we're going to have one go this way to continue on to feed the rest of the building that's currently there. And then we're going to put another one off this way, which will be going through that wall to feed the water upgrade, to feed the new system. Okay. The reason we're doing it that way is so that we can run both systems concurrently, because we're not going to be able to do the whole project in just one day. And this way, the main valve will allow us to shut off our entire building without affecting the building next door, since we're on the same meter. So, and this is what I was, on the camera. This is what I was talking about. You got to be careful when you're pulling parts from the bins at the hardware store, because people like to mix them up. This is what we need to solve it. It's a slip through one. This is the one I accidentally picked up because I was in a rush. It's got threads on both sides, that's no good for us. So we had to pick up some extra ones. The color doesn't matter, as it turns out. We've got a red, 2 reds and a blue, because it was from a different supplier, which is fine. We'll use the blue as our main, and we'll use the reds as subs. So put that one to the side because we won't use it. All right. So we shut off the main water at the meter. We drained the water out from a hose spigot that's down line of this, or up line of it actually. But that one's higher up, so we know that there will be some water in this line still. Get bins to collect as much water as you can, and then be prepared to sop up and or use fans and whatnot. So I need to figure out where exactly we want to do our cutoff. Ricky was saying he didn't want it too close to the wall, which makes sense. You always want to leave a little bit of room there because things will fail and you'll have to replace them.
Things will fail and stuff happens.
So probably somewhere around there. There's actually kind of a nice little mark here. I don't know if it was intentional or not, but if we could actually go a little further because there's no need to be that far back. This pipe is basically right at one of the footer lines anyways, so it's not going to be a big deal. Part of the reason that we are removing or adding this stuff in here, and one of the other pictures will show how the line actually goes up there and around, because that was the easiest how they did it 50 years ago. But this area is ultimately going to get renovated as these ducts are moved and whatnot. So we want to have all of the water, instead of it coming around here, it's going to come in here, go that way, be done with it. So that's why we're going to be doing that how we're doing it here today. Get my Sharpie. Maybe that out of my pocket. Okay, thinking maybe cut around here. Looks good, because then that'll give us some space. So that'll wind up being there. And our T will be somewhere around here.
You're thinking about drilling into the pipe or just cutting it with a saw?
Probably just cut it with the saw. It's really annoying how this is ran, because this is 1 inch, which is your typical feed line. Then it goes into a 1 inch elbow. Then it goes into a 3/4 inch reducing bushing. Then it goes into 3/4 inch PVC. Then it goes into a 3/4 inch PVC to pipe thread. Then it goes to this cutoff. Then from that cutoff, it goes into pipe thread CPVC, 3/4 inch, and then continues on as 3/4 inch CPVC, and eventually converts back to PVC upstairs, I think. I don't know why they did it that way, but we're going to do this all in PVC. Because none of it's super high pressure and none of it is, this is not going to be hot water, the PEX will be hot water. I don't know, I mean, drilling into a pipe is usually kind of difficult, although it might give us the best controlled way to empty it.
Or you can make a cut on the top, right where your line is.
I was thinking I might should make a cut a little bit back from the line, because I don't know how clean that cut's gonna, the first cut's gonna be.
Oh, that's a very good point.
So
Got a hacksaw or just a battery saw?
I was just gonna use a battery saw.
Okay.
I mean, I've got
That'll be fast.
a hand propper thingy, but I figured the hacksaw should be fine. Actually, there's a snow shovel right outside this door, I think. Can you grab that? That works too.
This coal shovel.
That works. That works. Double check on the other side of that wall. I'm pretty sure I know. So there's an old Romex wire on that side. On that side of that wall. So when we drill through that wall, we'll just have to come from that direction this way.
You gonna do that part today?
We probably don't have to because
Installing the cutoffs was our main.
yeah, all we just have to be able to install all three cutoffs.
Right.
So in theory, the one should wind up ending around here, ish. Something like that. So that should be fine. Because when we attach that one, we can just push it through. Let me see. That lowered the pressure, so the system's depressurized.
Yeah,
So
in theory it should just bubble out.
should be water from here up to there, and a little something from here probably.
Probably.
I wonder if I should try cutting like that.
That would probably be good.
Not a whole lot, that's good.
You were shadowed.
Can you come pull this pipe on that side?
Pull it up.
Just pull it out a little bit like I'm doing. Just kind of sort of like that. Maybe. Pull it out this way a little bit. Draining worked quite well.
Really did.
That and a little bit on the floor. That's really not bad. Okay. We'll deburr the inside of that. Inside and outside. That's actually a fairly decent cut. May not need that second cut.
Yeah, with the depth inside the switch, it should be fine.
It's a lot cleaner than I thought it would be, especially for cutting. 2 dimensions. This one cut a little bit off there. Actually, yeah, 'cause that'll be adding the
Add in 2 or 3 pieces.
Yeah. So,
Just to get the extra off.
yeah, getting most of it, the cleaner. Deal with the rest of it. So first we'll deburr all of these. Usually just a utility knife is fine for all this, sometimes you might use a file.
Yeah, utility knife is generally fine. This is the part of the video where you just zoom through it in editing.
Yeah. This is zoom through it all in about 5 seconds. So you've got the clean pieces there. So now we know. Can be seen. Good.
Yes.
So we've got that's going to connect to our main water feed line. That's going to be our primary shutoff. And we're going to have this little piece here. This is what's called dry fitting. You always want to dry fit your stuff as much as possible before you start gluing it, because the dry fit you can move, but the glue, once it's set, you can't. So that's going to be kind of sort of like that. Then our other piece, our other valve to the new system, go right there and on there. I'm actually going to take this down there and kind of hold it up in place and see what it looks like. Make sure our...
Then you know where your second cut needs to be made.
Yeah. Make sure our depth is not... Yeah, so that's going to put that valve's connection right on the other side of that wall. Granted, these are going to go in a little bit once we glue them in.
Right.
This was like, the wall was like right here. So we probably want to...
Well, typically what I've seen done before is you draw like a circle around where that is on the wall, and then you make a dot in the center of it, and then you run your drill through so that you know where you need to drill from the other side. Since once that's connected, you're not really going to have much in the way of movement play.
Right.
So we have to hit, or just make a larger hole, which can then be filled around. But
well, that's all I'm wondering, if we should connect like these pieces and these pieces, and then connect this to the pipe, and then hold that up there.
that would probably be best, yeah. Or at least
this.
At least this part. I mean, this is immaterial.
Well, I think like these two we can connect together first, and then put that on.
Right.
And then honestly, like this piece can be connected together as one thing, and then I can hold that up to there, basically right there, and get a pretty good idea of where it's going to land.
Right.
Okay. And yeah, that can be connected, and that'll be the last thing that we put together. Okay, so we'll do those in pieces so that we can access and take measurements as we go. Cleaner, all-purpose cement, and primer. If the lids are too tight, which they often are, get yourself some channel locks. stuff sets up in just a few seconds after you put the glue on. Let's see where it is, 'cause it's so little. This is dirty from the other thing that we did. Primer first. Push that one down, it's got dump it down that way. The other way. Like that, yeah. Okay. And the glue, you want to get a decent coverage on there on both sides and then put it together. So you put it together and twist about a half turn to get it in place.
It's almost already set up.
Yeah. It sets really fast. We'll put him over here. We'll go ahead and do this one. Okay. So on this one, when you want to get an angle a certain way, mark yourself a guide. Because we want this one to be kind of stay upright, so mark a guide there and then kind of sort of along here. Not straight, but straight enough. There's no rule that says that the valves have to be pointing up, but it just makes sense. Okay, so we'll do that first.
Well, we need to do this at the same time, right?
Yes, yeah.
Some people say the cleaner isn't even necessary.
Yeah. I think if you have primer, you usually don't need the cleaner, but okay, now pour the excess on the floor. This winds up being messy, guys. This is the one that actually
Lined
really
up.
matters. Yeah. So, and if you're working in an area where you can't just dribble on the floor, this is a basement, so it's perfectly fine. But make sure you put like a drop cloth, cardboard, painting cloth, something like that. Anything like that. Okay, so hold that guy. And this is the one that we're gonna try to get lined up. There's like nothing here. It's really dirty.
All lined up.
Yep. Hopefully I didn't get too much on you.
Not too much.
Okay, and see here's the other one that we did just a moment ago. There's actually still a little goopy on there, but
That's where it was there.
well, that's fine, it dries fast. It's all the way open. That's why it won't open anymore. Okay.
So, do the last one.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and do this one too. up a little bit. Pipe actually comes in and sits near where this footer level is, but we can probably pull it up a little bit, which will be reverse of what it was. If this one was all coming down,
Right.
then we'll pull it up a little bit. So now you hand me that other piece, the T-section piece. Thank you.
We can dry fit it and probably mark the wall, and then we can do the drilling.
Hand me the Sharpie. I meant to grab that. So this is the one going to our new water, which is going to be sitting around there. And it's basically going to go right at the level of that footer. In an ideal world, you'd put it up a little bit, but this is old work, so it's not ideal.
This is a 90-year-old building.
Yeah. Yep, 90-year-old building, you kind of got to do what you got to do. So I'm marking kind of the top of it right there, and I'll mark the sides. I'm kind of eyeballing, because this pipe comes over about an inch into your connector. So we know we're going to have to go basically as close to that footer, that wall footer there as we can. No good place to put him. So I realized after the fact, when I was reviewing the footage, that my camera had a glitch and you missed out on one part right here. What we were doing was we were locating where our hole is going to come through on the other side of the wall. And this is really important because whenever you're drilling through a wall like that, you have got to know where you're going to come out, or at least have a pretty rough idea. Two reasons. One, to make sure you don't hit anything in general. Most importantly, to make sure you don't hit an electrical line or water line, potentially, depending upon what you're doing. But in this case, we know, since we're working on the water lines, we know where all the water lines are. So electrical was our main concern. And there actually was an electrical line on the other side. We could see it easily. Now, a lot of the times in newer construction and regular construction, the electrical lines are in the wall. So it's a little different, but in this case, our electrical line was outside of the wall. It ran along the it was ran along the inside of that room on the outside of the wall, on the opposite side of the wall that we were working on. A little confusing, but anyways, yeah, we could see it easily on this side, but we didn't know exactly where it lined up on the side that we were working on. And you know, we just lined up where our hole needs to go, and we're about to drill our pilot hole, but we want to know where that comes out. Am I going to drill straight into an electrical line, which would be very, very bad for multitudes of reasons. You never want to do that. Being electrocuted is not fun. So two main ways to figure out that, what we did, and then later, and then I'll also tell you what we thought about later. But what I did was I measured off of the outer wall. Where we were, there was a support pylon nearby. You can't measure off of that because those are thicker all the way through. So if you measure off of that from the inside and then you go on the other side of the wall, there's probably not going to be a support pylon there. So if you measure off of that, your measurements are going to be shorter, I think. You'll wind up estimating shorter distance. So in that circumstance, you got to look around and find something that looks like the actual wall, not the support pillar. In this case, because there's actually, again, the construction on this building is really weird. There's actually some stud walls down here, and along that side wall, in the room we were working, it's red brick. In the other room that we were drilling into, there's like a stud wall with wooden planks. I don't understand the construction, but that's what it is, so that's what we're working with. So I was able to see on the side that we were working, I could see where that stud wall came out, and I could see the ends of some of those planks. So I knew, okay, that's got to be the edge of the wall on the other side. So I measured from that point to where we were on the side we were working, where we marked it, where we're going to drill with the forstner bit. Figured out what that distance was, and then I went around to the other side and I measured off of those planks that distance out. I think it was like not quite 2 feet. So I measured out, and I also measured up off the slab floor, because the slab floor typically is going to be the same grade in both locations. It should be the same exact level. If you're in some weird old construction where you've got an addition and whatnot, it may be different, but that's going to be pretty obvious. There's various ways you can figure out height difference there if you need to. If that's relevant to you, do some searching for that, or message me directly and I'll instruct you how to kind of figure out what your height difference is there. But anyways, for us, it's level. So I just measured off of the slab on one side, on the other, so I got my height. Now I've got my distance from the wall. So I use those two things. I measure out from the wall the amount, and then I measure it up from the slab the amount, and that told me exactly where my pilot hole was going to come out. And that wound up being just a couple inches away from actually it was more than a couple inches, I think. I'll show a picture a little bit later. But we were clear of the electrical line, which was really good. It would have been annoying to have to work around that. The electrical line was a little bit above it, I believe, come to think of it. So that's the way we figured out that one. Now, sometimes you don't have that. There's no way to figure out, okay, we can't measure off of an external wall. But in our circumstance, there was actually a doorway very close to that wall, along that same wall, only about 5-6 feet away. And the edge of that, the trim of that doorway, was accessible easily on both sides. So the easiest way is you measure off of that. So you measure like here on your trim, whatever is an even part on both sides, not the little doorstop thing here, but the trim itself. Measure off of that, back your distance to where you're cutting on the one side, and then do that again on the other side. Same, whatever distance it was over here, measure that distance over here and mark it. And that'll tell you your length, your distance from the door to there, and that'll tell you horizontally where your hole will be. And then again, you just measure off of your slab grade to your height to figure out where your hole is going to be. So that's how you locate a hole. That's how we located our hole. And what we did was we drilled a pilot hole through it first, which is just a smaller bit. And then that told us exactly where our hole was, and it was where we had measured, which is always good when your measurements come out right. You know, and then we followed up with a forstner bit, which you are about to see. So that's how we solved that problem. Let's get back to the video now. Okay, so now that we've figured out where our hole is, the electrical on the other side is not in the way. Mark center. You can use a hole saw or a spade bit or a forstner bit, which are really cool. Great for cutting through really thick wood. We're only going through about a 1 inch here, but hey, if you got this, use it. So first we measure, because we want to be as far down as we can be, but at the same time we've got that footer there, so it can't be all the way down. So that's about where the center of our piece is. Let's see there. I'm actually going to cut it from the other side. So this is like a 7/64 bit. It really doesn't matter. This is just for a pilot hole. Just don't use anything too big and don't use things really small because they break easy. So I pushed this in to leave a mark for the center of that, and now I'm going to drill through it. Line up.
I'm not sure that was 1 inch.
What?
I'm sure the board was 1 inch thick.
It may not be. Like I said, we're going to drill it from the other side because we don't have it here. It would get in the way of the pipe, and we'd have to drill it kind of off to the side, which would not be good.
Okay. The hole is just over the just over the footer.
Good, that's about where we want it. We have a hole. Alright, so if anything, it may be a little to the side, but that should be alright. When I put this on here, I'm going to try to angle it to make sure it lines up with that hole well.
Do we want to dry fit the piece that goes through the wall?
I think we may want to attach the piece that goes through the wall, actually, because on the other side it's probably going to wind up being not very long, but I'm thinking we should put at least a 6-inch piece on it so we've got some play, because we can cut it if we need to. Better to have waste, and that way,
because that can be angled and then
have to
allow you to
go in there, get it on like that. That's going to be difficult, but better. Worst comes to worst, we'll cut that piece out there if we have to.
Yep.
This whole wall will wind up being renovated at some point in the next several years, but we should be able to put that in there and get it on there. I'm pretty sure we can, so we're going to go cut the 6-inch piece of that. Good thing is this is the last of the old work plastic that we'll be dealing with for a long time. Okay. Dry fit that. Yeah, I should be able to get that in there. Good thing is I can push against that to get it in. Pretty good. I'm glad we oversized that hole.
Right.
When in doubt, always oversize your holes.
Especially when dealing with angles.
Yeah. Beautiful. Which, by the way, you hold this stuff to about 10-15 seconds ideally. That is in there really good. Okay. Off, off. All right. That was one of the most important connections. Now we just reconnect this old system back to it.
Well, dry fit so you know where to cut.
Yeah, in just a minute.
If I make a Home Depot trip, I'll have to.
What?
If I make a Home Depot trip, I'll have to pick up cleaner.
Yeah. It's interesting. The red ones are from Fairway. The blue ones are from Home Depot. It would kind of make sense if you could get them on both red and blue, but I guess those places only carry one of each.
Yeah, it would make sense if you're doing it within every cutoffs into your hot water and your cold.
And go kind of sort of like that. What is this? That is PVC. I don't want to. I think we need to do one of those numbers.
Why?
Because I don't know that I can pull that pipe up that far. Seems like an awfully big angle. It'd be under even more stress than it was, and it'll put all the new fittings under stress.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
I think I'd rather spend an extra couple of bucks and
Yeah, you're right.
I can probably come off at an angle slightly.
Should be able to come off at a slight angle. Looks like you need about a 3 or 4 inch piece of that piece is lifted up right now.
Yeah.
Right on the bucket.
Huh?
Because this is, you said 3/4 inch. So
I mean, that'd be like
with
that. Yeah, and this is 3. See, if this, I got supplies to connect in to CPVC because I thought we were gonna have to. I was gonna cut in here, go make a stupid jog around there, and connect our pipe in over there. That's if we didn't figure out how to cut this off. But we're doing it properly here, which I'm really happy about. So like I could connect in there, but so if this was 3/4 inch CPVC like this is, we'd be fine because I could do something. But it's not, so we can't. So we'll just do this. This has a fair bit of play in it, so.
Looks like you need like 4 inches or
You
something.
can come down there, so basically to that edge, and then to there, ish, somewhere around there. Like that. 3 inches plus 2 inches probably. Or we could do,
Maybe 3 + 2.
we could do 4.
I
4
would do
plus
4
2.
+ 2.
Because then that puts us down there. Yeah, that's fine. And we're probably going to want to attach. Wait, he's not attached. I can actually attach him.
Oh, the other part.
Yeah,
Well,
I can-
you could go ahead and attach your other
Attach-
assembly while you're at it.
Huh?
Attach this part of while
Attach
you're at
this guy.
it. Well, I'm saying you could attach the rest of this and then attach that guy.
I think we need to attach this guy and then build off of him here.
Okay.
So we'll attach him. Oh, we're going to need a little piece
Yeah.
here.
Maybe like a 3 inch piece.
Yeah. Huh. Those 3 inches only use, I guess, like 1.5 inches, or a 1/2 inch on each side. So we need a 3 inch and a 6 inch. So we'll do our. I'll go ahead and attach this guy so he can be setting up. Then we'll get the 3 inch there, and then our 6 inch down there.
Well, you might even be able to just do a 5 inch for down there since you said they're not taking the full inch. So we're probably fine with 5 inch.
Okay, let's do 5 inch.
It'll
I'm
be a
gonna.
little less strain on the
Yes.
pipe.
I'm going to attach this guy that he can be setting up while we're doing the other.
So you're having to angle off because of the original installation.
The what?
Said you're having to angle off because of the original installation.
Yeah.
Making comments for the folks.
Do what?
So I was just making a comment for the folks while you're going to have to do that jog.
Yep. Yeah, in an ideal world, we wouldn't have to do a jog like this. We would just connect it straight over. But world is far from ideal. Okay, good. Alright, so we've got our little elbow L piece in there. So he's going to go like this. Like dry fit him, put him in like that. Which means we'll be able to pull this guy over here. So we're going to install this one. Then we're going to put our elbow on it. Then we'll see where he needs to be and then we'll cut him. cleaner on the wrong side. We're not doing that one yet.
Good point. Yeah, it's all right.
Good to catch.
Yep. Better to catch before you prime.
Always make sure you're working on the correct side.
Your mom's asking how's it going.
It's going pretty good. We should be.
Once we get that done, we'll be done.
I think so.
Okay.
Now, can you hand me one of the clean elbows? These won't have a lot of dust in them.
Going well. I think we have 2 more connections and 1 cut.
Should be 1 cut and 1 connection actually. No.
Well, no, yeah, but the town is probably
Okay, so line that up here, about where it needs to be. And remember that is going to overlap inside there a little bit. We're actually going to make our cut about there, kind of, sort of.
Right, because it'll,
yeah. Thank you. If you can stabilize it in back there, that would be great. Bearing. When connections like this, you gotta make sure you pull it in on both sides because it's hard to grab it in the middle, and you might not get it in all the way. You think you got a little bit, and it's only like 1/4 of an inch. You want to push it, make sure you get it in there good. One of the worst things that happen is you do something like this, and then a few weeks later it breaks under pressure because one of your connections was not fully seated. Now we can go test things. So we're going to have them all in the off position. Then we're going to go turn our main water back on and check them one at a time. Alright, water turned back on. And always remember to put your lid back on. You don't want anybody falling in there. And we are good to go. So, now when we turn this one on, water will fill up in here. Now, turn that on, turn this on. And we go look on the other side. Turn that off just to reduce the pressure. Let's just go into an empty room.
There, no water.
Huh.
Water. Water. No water.
What?
Now it's running.
Now it's running?
It was. Now it's running.
Okay. Alright. That's got most of the air out, so now we'll power up the old system. Pulls the ball in there. Leave that off because it's going to the new stuff. Future video. Main. Alright, so that completes the first part of this task here. We've got those valves set up, which was a big task. I mean, it was a small task, but it was a big relief. You know, that was kind of the first step. We had to get that done before we could build off the rest of it. I like to build stuff kind of sequentially. Some people will build from one direction and then come at it and connect the other one, which works. You can do that, but sometimes you get some funky stuff in the middle when you're trying to connect your two different directions. So I like building out from one way. So now we've got our good connection here at our main valves. We've got all of the water in the building on the old system is still running perfectly right now. We tested everything. That's all working really good. And I've got the new system, a valve going straight into the new system right now, or well, it's a stub right now. It will be a new system soon. And, you know, so all our tasks for this episode are done. And next time I get some time, we are going to be working on continuing that 1-inch PVC hard line in the other room, going around and bring that to what's going to be our primary junction area. And we're going to install a stud wall there, basically where our junction area and our tankless water heater is going to be, and that will allow us to connect all of our stuff really nice and easily, because there's red brick wall there, and you know that is not an easy thing to connect to with lots of little things, especially with pipes. So anyways, we'll talk about that more later, but this phase is done. I'm really excited we're getting this project going, and hope you enjoyed it, and stick around for more as we continue on the water renovation in This Olde Theater. Have a good day.